Hello, everybody. Ross here at Teacher Toolkit. Thank you for joining me. You're either watching this live on Twitter, my YouTube channel, or on Facebook. I'm delighted to be showing LessonUp, and I'm joined by the company and people that work for LessonUp and a couple of teachers who I'm going to talk to about who they use the product and how they've used it to transform their teaching and learning in the classroom. LessonUp is a community of teachers from all over the world, over 800,000 lesson plans, exchanging lesson resources to deliver online content to students. Really popular in Belgium, the Netherlands, and the USA. Not so much here in the UK, so I'm really pleased to be able to share this with you. And again, because I'm recording here from StreamYard, I just thought I'd just mention a couple of logistics before we go into more details. If you've logged in to Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, you can leave comments and I'll display them on the screen on your behalf so you can pose questions. I'm going to share some QR codes for you to scan, and I will share all the recordings with you after the event itself. Just in terms of LessonUp, they provide lesson plans and a curriculum sequence for teachers to adapt, reduce your workload, and improve student engagement in class and online. And in this session, I want to go through how it can empower yourself as a teacher, how you can see it works when you see a couple of teachers share different scenarios, and how it can support students in a wide range of settings, I suppose. So I'm just going to put my slides up on the screen. Here we are. So I'm managing two different screens here. So there we go. And let me just, for people watching live, people who've signed up through Eventbrite, we've got about 190 of you signed up from 30 countries all over the world, which is exciting in this online world we now work and teach. So maybe you can see where your pin is here. It's always, I'm a bit of a map geek, so it's nice to see all the different people from different places. And obviously I'm speaking to you here from England. So we'll just do a little zoom in on England here, and you can kind of see we've got a big crowd from Belfast. I'm going to introduce you to Michael later, who's from Belfast Met College. So he's obviously got a few colleagues here as well. And yeah, so that's the UK and the agenda. So we're going to be over the next hour unpicking, the landscape from COVID, what it currently looks like, from Michael in Belfast, and from Anja, who is joining us from the Netherlands. We'll talk about what LessonUp is from Alice, who I'll introduce to you later. We'll then show you some engaging lessons from the platform itself, how to sign up also, and access all the free material. And we'll do some demos along the way. And as ever, if you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, if you're logged in, you can leave a comment and we'll pose your question up on the screen to myself, Alice, Anja, or Michael as we go through. So I'm just going to introduce everybody. So I'm going to take my slides off the screen and I'm going to bring in everybody here. And we'll start off with Alice, then Anja, and then Michael. So Alice, over to you. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Ross. I am Alice. I'm part of the LessonUp team, and basically I'm here to kind of give you a bit of our story, our mission, and how Anja and Michael have so willingly agreed to be a part of this session as well. But really excited to just share who we are, what we do, our mission and vision for teachers and for the education sector with online learning and digital lessons, and also engaging students. So that's a little bit about me.
Great. Thank you, Alice. Anja, hello.
Yeah, hi. Nice to be here. I'm Anja Rivera, and I come from the Netherlands. I'm a teacher. I teach religion, ethics, philosophy, which I think is the greatest subject, to teach, because it talks about the meaning of life. And I have great discussions and talks with my students. And I also work for LessonUp besides this. But thanks for being here.
Thank you, Anja. And Michael?
Hi, thanks for the invite. So I'm Michael from Belfast Met in Belfast, Northern Ireland. I am actually fairly new to the teaching side of things. I have a career in hospitality, sort of ranging back sort of 15 years in management before 4 years ago moving into a role as a tutor assessor with Belfast Met. So my sort of classroom experience is fairly new. And, since sort of August, September time, I've been using LessonUp and found it really very helpful.
So we've got an experience and a new user viewpoint. I guess, Michael, don't be so hard on yourself. In hospitality, I'm sure there's thousands of opportunities where you were teaching other people certain things.
Yeah, certainly, like on the job training, running kind of training days for staff and stuff.
Yeah.
Probably trained hundreds of staff, but
I guess in that teaching world now, it's a lot more thoughtful process for you, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot more planning.
Great. So let me just put my slides back up, everybody, and let me just move this banner out the way at the bottom. Here we go. So just before I get started, I've got 3 QR codes for you here. Now, if you're watching on a mobile phone, this might be tricky for you. And again, I'll circulate these later. But if you're on a laptop and you have a mobile phone to hand, you can see what I have to say about LessonUp on the left-hand side. So scan that. If you want to register, it's a free sign up and play around with the resources, and we'll do some demos as we go through. So scan the middle QR code. And if you want a general video introduction, you get stuck, you're not sure what it is, etc., then just scan that QR code on the right-hand side. And again, if you've logged in, leave a comment. If I've gone too quick and you missed this or you want to see this again later, just let me know. But I will bring these up at the end. Okay, so let's take some slides off. We're just going to have a little bit of a Q&A to begin with. I'm going to start off with Michael and Anja. So Alice, I'll see you in a moment. But Michael and Alice, could you just tell me, let's start with yourself, Anja. What's been the last 2 years like for you in the classroom with COVID, and what is it like now?
Well, in the Netherlands, we had 2 lockdowns. So we were at home from one day to the next day. We were at home, all of us. And actually, I have to say, for me, it was not very different teaching because I was already using LessonUp. And so the way I was teaching before COVID and during a lockdown is actually exactly the same, which is great for myself. I didn't have to change my methods, but it was also great for the students because they knew, when we have a class from Miss Rivera, everything is the same. The only thing is, it's online, but that's the great thing, I can switch whatever. I can switch to being online or in the classroom. My teaching method is the same, and the involvement of the students is actually quite the same. So for me, there was not a big difference. Of course, I like interacting with the kids more in class, because you see their faces and,
And what's this kind of state of COVID in the Netherlands for you right now?
Right now, there are no restrictions anymore. So everything is we all go to school. There are no restrictions anymore. But I have to say that they are expecting more trouble to come and after the summer vacation, in October, November, and they're warning us already. So I think,
for the winter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
thank you. So Anja, I'll pop back to you in a second. Michael, last 2 years for you, new teacher and all that. So a tough job all round. How has it been?
Yeah, it's certainly a challenge initially, obviously, with the first lockdown in March 19 was that. Those students, everything kind of stopped for those guys. We were lucky enough that our awarding body was allowing us to use the evidence we'd gathered to award certificates. So a lot of that time was just spent really, there was no teaching. It was more support calling, making sure everyone's, keeping themselves well mentally more than anything, and reassuring them that, don't be worrying about your course. That's all taken care of. But then coming back in again in the sort of September, I was very wary of a lot of my subjects were kind of hands-on. There was like tea and coffee service and this kind of thing, which I was aware that that wasn't going to be possible if we went into another lockdown, which we did. And thankfully, Belfast Met had allowed me, along with the course I work on, College Connect, the flexibility to change around the units I was delivering. So I sort of future-proofed that I would be able to deliver everything online if I needed to. At that time, initially, I was using other things like Nearpod, which was what Belfast Met had in at the moment at that
was
time.
this was at the start of the pandemic for you? This kind of
This would have been the September, October, November of 2019, just whenever
okay.
kind of we
And
had came out
what's
and gone back in.
what's the state of affairs? For people watching outside the UK, just trying to ensure everyone has a good picture. What lockdown restrictions or COVID like in Belfast
At the moment?
Yeah.
Back to fairly much regular normal in the classroom,
Mhm.
and no real social distancing restrictions, encouraging face masks, but back to normal.
Okay. So it's just good to get a bit of context for everyone, and we'll unpick kind of COVID challenges also. I guess my next question, Anja, is why so you've been using it a while, but why should teachers use technology in the classroom? What are the benefits?
Oh, there are many benefits, but I will keep it short. And first of all, the engagement of the students is much, much higher when you use technology. And especially the part of gamification. I use a lot of gamification within LessonUp. And I noticed that makes them much more enthusiastic to follow your class. Because when you use LessonUp, they cannot lay back anymore. They have to participate. Whether they like it or not.
Can I just ask just for people maybe outside the UK or people outside education, what is gamification?
Gamification is that you use sort of like games in order to make the teaching more accessible to your students. They think it's a game, but what you're really doing is making it easier for them to learn and to receive that what you want to get across. You want them to be motivated to learn, to study.
A good way to hook the students in. So your experience in LessonUp and technology, how did you? I'm assuming you used it much more, obviously, through the pandemic.
Yeah.
And
actually, I use it every lesson. I use.
Okay, and it's a daily habit for you now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Now I'm going to bring Michael in. Thank you, Anja. Michael, again, technology for you. How do you see the benefits for you in your context? Working in a college and through the pandemic and today.
So I mean, initially, whenever I started in education, one of my sort of mentors that kind of brought me in was talking a lot about blended learning and really kind of pushing the blended learning aspect of that. So in terms of technology, it was something I sort of embraced fairly quickly. I was trying to use that as much as possible, like pre-pandemic. I would have to say that I wasn't doing a great job of it. It was very easy just to rely on, here's PowerPoint and I can tell you stories and I can talk, or we can get our hands on things. But then obviously, COVID kind of changes all of that, and it becomes important to embrace.
And just for a definition for people outside the UK or unfamiliar, what is blended learning?
It's sort of the idea of moving away from a teacher or tutor standing at the front of the classroom and doing what they would call chalk and talk, where you just talk at the students, where you're maybe giving students work to do, reading to do at home, and then bringing that back into the classroom and trying to work on problems or solutions or activities. So the learning is done at home, and then the practice of it would be done in the classroom with the teacher.
Okay, great. And how are you getting on with LessonUp today? So, tell me how you discovered LessonUp. You said you're relatively new. So what brought you to LessonUp to begin with?
So our Centre for Excellence in Belfast Met introduced it, I think it was the beginning of the academic year. And a lot of the support actually came directly through LessonUp. Alice actually send a lot of emails, with support, nudges towards all the great resources they actually have, online. I'm not being paid for any of this, by the way. So all of that support was there, and I had previous experience using another system, which was good. But I just found LessonUp really easy to use. Really,
and is it something that you use? I don't know how often you see your students, but a daily or weekly kind of thing for you?
Probably weekly. But actually, in the last sort of month, I've been trying to kind of pick it up more because I'm finding the students are enjoying it. As Anja said, the sort of the gamification, the quizzes, are really powerful. And some of the stuff that she's going to show us is actually
okay, great. Well, let me bring Anja back in. Thank you, Michael. Anja, I guess the same question. And I know you've used LessonUp for a long time. What brought you to LessonUp in the first place?
Well, I have to say, it doesn't sound very nice, but I was bored with my own lessons. I was so bored, and I thought, if I'm bored, my students must be even worse than me,
Right. Okay.
I was bored, and I thought, I need something. I was using PowerPoint and textbooks, and I thought, I'm only sending information, and the students, they were not engaged. And if I would ask, did you get it? Did you understand? It would be like, yeah. And I'm like, no, you didn't. And I had no idea how to motivate them until I came across with LessonUp by coincidence, I have to say.
Right.
And because I went to a workshop which I didn't want to attend, we had to from school. And
and LessonUp was there.
And it was there.
Well,
and then I was sitting there and I thought, oh, this is actually really interesting. And so I started paying attention. And I thought to myself, I have to get into it. I have to check it out at home and really look into it. What is it? How can I use it? And the more I got into it, the more excited I got and the more enthusiastic I got. And because it's also really nice to create your lessons in LessonUp, like Michael said.
And, so how long have you been using LessonUp for?
I think 5 years now.
Right, so quite some time. And
yeah,
does it make your working life easier as a teacher?
Oh yeah, very much.
Yeah.
Very much. I have no tabs anymore open, only LessonUp in my classroom.
Right, wow, okay.
And like I said, the students are much more involved, and I like teaching more. I like to teach because of I use LessonUp. The content I teach is the same. It's the way I teach it is different.
Sure. And could you just remind viewers a bit more about your school and the types of students you teach, what age, etc.?
Yeah, the students, it's high school, and they're like the students in school are between 12 and 19 years old.
Right. Okay.
And I teach them from, I would say, 15 years old to higher.
With LessonUp, yeah?
Yeah. I only teach with LessonUp. I threw out my books. So.
Right, crikey. So that'll be quite a radical move for some teachers. Okay. Thank you, Anja. I'll come back to you shortly. So I'm going to bring Alice in. Alice, let's talk about LessonUp, and we're going to start to do a little demo for people. So just before I do, let me just put this screen back up here. Here's our agenda for people joining us. So if you're on a live stream on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook, you should be able to leave a comment, and I'll put your question up on the screen. So we're going to move on to stage 2 now on this agenda, and then we'll give you a little demonstration once we hear from Alice. So Alice, let me bring you in. Here we go. Let me just get rid of, I'll make this screen a bit smaller. No, that's the wrong button. Okay, let me just take it off for now. Alice, tell us what LessonUp is.
Yeah. Sorry, Ross. It was just funny. I was just cracking up behind the scenes because poor Michael has probably received lots of emails from me and trying to just make sure that we're supporting him and his team as much as we could. So I just was cracking up when he said, got a lot of emails from her. And then Anja saying as well, I didn't, was forced by my school. It's just funny how these stories, how you hear how, great teachers like Anja and Michael actually find us. So it's just cracking up in behind the scenes. But moving on to just about us and LessonUp and the team. So, we were founded 7 years ago, and we are a Dutch-based company in The Hague. And from day one, our mission is basically to empower every teacher to create that most engaging, joyful, and effective learning moment for their students. Really make sure that their students are having fun while still learning. And the way that we did this, we basically provided and developed a platform that allows you to kind of customize lessons, slides. It's very similar to PowerPoint, but it fits your teaching style, and it fits your students' learning. And then it also brings that engagement and interactivity into the classroom, and kind of gives you the confidence that you need, again, as a teacher. I think we can totally all agree that student attention is probably the hardest thing to manage as a teacher. And our goal is to support you as a teacher to keep your students focused, keep them excited about the learning material, and then to engage them again and again and again within your lesson material. So you can go on to the next slide, Ross.
Okay, great. Let me click that over there.
And the way that we do this, again, time is precious, and learning a new platform and trying to teach 30 students at the same time and keeping them learning is really hard. So we've provided a way to make it very easy to upload existing material, like your old PowerPoint slides, or I know Anja mentioned that she was using PowerPoint and got really bored of them. So you can easily upload those slides, and then just within a few steps, you can add interactivity like videos or quiz questions to kind of make it more gamified in that sense. I see this question about the devices. I will come to that, Jonathan. We do have thousands of teachers that are already active on the platform, and then we work alongside education partners or content creators like the Van Gogh Museum. So you can access a full library with pre-made lessons. You can save these lessons into your own account and then adapt them to the way that you teach and to your students' learning. And what's great too, if you're running out of time or you have just zero inspiration for the day, you can also just use these lessons instantly and start teaching them to your students. With our education partners, it's a great opportunity to find really unique and, let's be honest, sometimes inaccessible learning material from museums. You can actually have that accessible to your students and bring a bit more actuality into the classroom.
Alice, can you remind, so how many teachers are using the platform at present?
Yeah, we have honestly over 100,000. I can't give you exact numbers, but it's really on the
It's
over
quite high.
100,000.
And in terms of the content, so when I first discovered LessonUp, 800,000 lessons.
Yeah, since then, Ross, we've gotten over to 1 million or so, above a million now. So we have just lots of content created by other teachers across the globe. So you can really find unique, learning techniques or ways that lessons are structured. So it's really, really, really interesting.
That's a huge amount of resources.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna let Anja and Michael kind of share the way that they use LessonUp, in the classroom, and we've already kind of touched upon it a bit. I know Anja has a few things she would like to show how she engages her students, but I think something really unique about LessonUp is that the platform gives you the ability to engage students at different learning levels, using a variety of features, and then you can really help them catch up with the learning material, and then also at the same time meet students at their own learning level in that sense. You can go to the next slide, Ross. Here, so to answer Jonathan's question, students can participate on any device, Android, Mac, Google, Huawei, any kind of devices. They can basically enter a lesson and start participating just by using a unique PIN code. Teachers then can see immediately who's in their lessons. You can also see who's actually participating, who's passively participating, and then as well who needs extra support. During the lesson, you can also receive instant feedback. And then if you'd like, you can always review student answers post-lesson in the LessonUp reports. Something that's great as well, and this kind of shows in these images here, is that you can also share lessons as homework, tests, or independent work. So you can really kind of provide differentiated lessons if you want, or really engage your students in different ways in the classroom or remotely or online. And then again, if you don't want to use interactivity, or if you feel like you would just like to use LessonUp as a presentation tool, you have that option as well. So you can just teach in the class with full attention of your students to your slides. So that's also an option. And then lastly, basically, discover more at lessonup.com. Please feel free to register and create a free account. Ross, you already mentioned that you can receive a 30-day free trial with our premium features. So, for example, the homework and reports is a bit of the premium features. But if you'd like to get in contact with me and the team, no worries. We will be sending a follow-up email with some free resources as well. So
Alice, got a question on the screen here from Camilla. Thank you, Camilla. And I'm hoping, Alice, it's compatible with most tools. So we've got one here about Moodle and OneFile.
Yeah, so what's great about it is that each lesson has a unique link that you can basically embed into any kind of system, so Moodle or Google Classroom. And so you can easily just embed this link, and the students are easily able to just access that link and join via the PIN code, or they can use their Moodle emails or Gmails and then join via a unique link that you send through an email or through that link. So
fantastic. And then just to remind everyone, so people watching, there's my 3 QR codes. So the middle one will take you to register and play. There's an introduction to the right-hand side and a blog post from me on the left. So if you've got double devices on you, so you're watching this on a laptop and you've got a phone to hand, scan those. But I will circulate the slides and attach them to the recording on YouTube and to Eventbrite users. Alice, I'm going to come back to this question here from Jonathan on Facebook. Do you need devices in class to make most of this work on a day-to-day basis?
No, again, so I mean, you can obviously use devices if you like, but as a teacher as well, you can just create the slides yourself and then be able to present on a board or with a laptop. Students can also just use a web browser on anywhere, so they can access a lesson via web browser, or we do have a free app that you can download if you like, but it's not necessary. But again, teachers are able to, just use it on a presentation board if they like as well, and then students can still participate.
Now, I know what it's like to develop a bit of software. It's hard work, and the secret is to try and make it compatible with as many different things as possible. Are there any things that you don't yet do that you're working on that you could let people know that this is in the pipeline, so to speak, or is it pretty much it can do anything as possible?
Yeah, I think something we're trying to be a bit more compatible in the sense of working with Google Suite and the Microsofts, because we know that a lot of schools are part of those packages. So we are, as a development team, working to make it a lot more seamless in the way that you give lessons to your students via those systems. But at the moment, you can still easily just use a link and then share it however you like. But then again, the more embedding features is still to come. So that's something that we're working on.
Sure. Okay, so I guess what people are they want to see the actual resource. So I'm going to bring Anja in a moment for a little demonstration and creating lessons. And then I'm going to pick Michael's brain as well and learn more about how they actually use it. And thank you to people watching live. There's lots of questions coming in, so I'm going to hold fire with those for now, and I'll return to all your different questions as we go through, because they're starting to really flurry through. So if you're watching live, Facebook, YouTube or Twitter, connect online, pose the question, and I'll put them on the screen. Thank you, Alice. I shall see you shortly. So Anja, I'm going to bring you in here. I guess, thinking about the benefits of LessonUp and how to create really nice learning moments. I'm going to put your screen up here. Could you talk us through some of the things that you do? Maybe some beginner versions or something quite complicated. You tell us what kind of level it is for a teacher user, and tell us the benefits of each of some of the tools.
Okay, I will. Thank you. Okay, this is one of the examples, and I would like you to, if you can, enter the code. You go to LessonUp.app, like your students would do, LessonUp.app, and then here you see a code. If you enter this code, then you will access these questions, what I'm gonna give to you. And it would be really great, because then you really experience how your students will view LessonUp and how will they experience LessonUp. I see already one student in. Thank you very much. The code is 854426. So you go to LessonUp.app, and then you can participate. So you also know how and experience how your students will experience this when you use LessonUp. So I'll just wait for a few seconds to start. I'm going to explain just a little bit before I start. This is called a spinner.
And just before you get started, is it possible for you to just maybe share the code with me or with users, so they can get more people? So I can see you've got 8 people connected, but is there a link that I could share with people?
No,
it's an actual app.
Yeah, it is an app. LessonUp.app. And
LessonUp.app. Okay, and they can download that off the App Store.
Yeah, they can, but you can also go through the website. If you go to LessonUp.com, and then you see student login, and then you can go from there.
Okay, so I'm just going to put the chat box in the display. So here it is. Here, just the pin, just for people to see. So that's the right code, 85426. Okay, so 16 people. So over to you, Anja.
Yeah, thank you. Well, the spinner you can use in many different ways. The easiest way is just to put it in there. And when you do that, then all the names of your students that are entering with the code, all the names of the students come in the spinner, which is really great. So you don't, as a teacher, you don't have to add them. They just immediately, automatically are in. So that's really great. I have here 2 spinners. This is from one of my classes of Buddhism. And the first spinner, I'm going to start now. The first spinner is with questions. I put questions in here. So if you don't want the names of the students, you just mark elements, and then you can put questions in. What is the name of Buddha's teaching? Now, then I do another spinner, this one. And here are the names of the people that are of your students. So in this, Stu, I won't bother you with the question. You don't need to answer. But here you see that you can use in different ways. So I have now 2 spinners, but you can also just use one with only the names. Because as teachers, we know that there's so many times students say, oh, you always pick me. Why me? Oh, it's always me. And now the spinner is choosing which student is going to answer the question. And that is really great. I think it's very great, because you avoid all those questions. And with this spinner, I always start with the question spinner, because when you start with the question spinner, what is the 4th noble truth in Buddhism? When you start with the question spinner, and all the students have to pay attention, because they could be picked by the spinner. And I also call it the Wheel of Fortune. Ahmed, in this way, you're the lucky winner. And I always say, it's the Wheel of Fortune, because the lucky winner is allowed to say the answer. So I use this in 2 ways. You can use it even with more ways. You can.
Anja, I've got a kind of. The reality of the classroom is you've got 30 children all around you while you're trying to play on this software. How easy is it to edit in the moment?
Oh, very easy.
So to take a child's name off in case they're absent from the lesson, for example, how would you do that?
When they're absent in the lesson, they don't get in the spinner, because at that time, when you teach the lesson, when you want to give the lesson, then at that point they have to enter the code, and those students, only those ones, are in the spinner.
Right, understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Okay.
So I'll continue to my next one.
Yeah, please do.
That's this one. This is an example of a mind map. This is about Van Gogh's art and his Japanese period. And then the students have to, I'm glad already somebody's answering, and have to see what similarities do they see in these two paintings. And what you see here is that it's all anonymous. I cannot see the answers yet. I cannot see what they answered. And I'll just wait until I get some more answers. And then, let's see, 4 times the same. That's great. 3 times the same answers. And let me just wait a few more seconds. And then I'll close it, like I'm going to do right now. And then it says, show all the words. You know, you can do it all. You can flip them around all at once, but you don't have to. And here you also see you cannot see the answer. I turn it around now, and the person says great. If I want to see which of the students of mine answered this question, I click on it again, and then I see the name. And that is great because if you want it to be anonymous, of course it can be. It depends all about the subject you're teaching. I mean, if you're talking about depression, you know, or about bullying in class, then you want it to be anonymous. You know, that is about the safety in the classroom. But if it is a topic that is just, you know, like for instance this, then it doesn't matter if it's anonymous or not anonymous. I'm going to show you all the answers, flowers, and there's always a student, no, not always, but you might have a student that you think, oh my goodness, I don't really like the answer. The answer is just to make fun of the class or to be funny. Then you can drag. I'm sorry whose answer this is. I'm sorry, it's not personal. I'm going to drag it into the garbage bin. And that is really helpful because if the students see the answer, that is a stupid answer or whatever answer, they keep focusing on that. And when you drag it to the garbage bin, it's gone and they don't think about it anymore. So as a teacher, it's really a great tool.
I guess the nice thing here is also if Ross gets the answer wrong, no one gets to see it's me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm going to go to...
Yeah, let's go forward. I've got lots of questions coming in, but I'm going to hold fire for now. Okay, what a great graphic.
This one is, it's from a history teacher who also works in LessonUp. And this is about the big war, the Great War. And there was a lot of text they have to read. And for many students in the Netherlands, I don't know if it's anywhere else in the world, when there's a lot of text, they get a little discouraged and they don't feel like reading because they don't like to read. And this was created because there were refugee kids in his class and they didn't speak the language, Dutch, very well. They didn't read it very well. And then when you have a huge amount of text to read, it can be very discouraging. So I put it in hotspots. A little text here, and then a little there, and then some pictures, you know, and so it's much easier for them to read in this way instead of a whole, you know, a big amount of text that you have to read. So this is not interactive. This they can do by themselves, but it makes reading easier. Especially.
Anja, can you control the entire content on this image?
Yeah, you can change whatever you want. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
And you can choose any. You know, I'm really acting very naive, so I can choose any location on this image and have a pop up or a new image.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Exactly.
Okay, what else have we got? Okay.
This is also a drag and drop question, and this is true or false. This is also from my own class, so I'm gonna start it right now, and then you can see who was in it, and I can also see here who didn't answer yet, and that's really great. As a teacher, you have full control of all your students, and you can say, you know, hey, Job or Matthew, why didn't you answer? I want you to answer the questions. There's no escape. That sounds a little harsh. There's no escape. But as a teacher, you want all your students to be involved. And you don't want that there are always a few that don't want to be involved. You want every student to be involved in your teaching, and this is a great way that you can see who didn't. And also when you see, like, for instance, Liz and Alice, they're dark green, and with the V behind it, so that means they're finished. So as a teacher, you can see who's still busy, like when they're moving and they go from blue to dark green, then they're still busy. So you can see they're not done yet. So
the dark green is they've completed the task.
Yeah, they completed it. It doesn't mean that they answered correctly. That's what we're going to see later.
Right.
But, you can see that they're done. So if I'm in school doing it like that on the board, on the screen, or if I'm at home teaching from home because of a lockdown or whatever, I still have the same control. And I can engage the students in
I've
the
got
same
a question here, Anja, from Kevin watching on YouTube. In terms of the spinner, if you pose that question and it's responded, does the question remove itself from the spinner?
No, not automatically. No.
Okay. So I guess you have to edit that manually.
Yeah, no, but you can put it in beforehand if you want to. You can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So I'm going to bring Michael in a moment and pick his brains about how he uses it.
I'm just going to end here.
There's the answer.
Here you have the results. You can also turn this off if you don't want it to be a competition. You can turn this off. So.
Okay, fantastic. If you maybe leave those on the screen, Anja. I guess Michael, and thank you, Anja. It was brilliant, really useful. Michael, how have you used LessonUp?
Initially, I was using LessonUp a lot in terms of like the quiz questions. Pick an answer A, B, C, or D. Sort of more closed-ended questions where there's a simple question, and then there's one right answer out of a choice of 4. But in my student group, so they're between 16 to 24-year-olds, a lot of neurodiversity within the class.
Sure.
Some people, the course I teach on is all about overcoming barriers and getting people back into education. And one of the biggest tools I found was actually the mind map, where I would have my students in front of me, and some of them just wouldn't be comfortable speaking in front of the class. Maybe English isn't their first language. And with a mind map, I could just pose a question, give them a moment, and they could type their answers. And then as a class, we can discuss from there. Some people might not use LessonUp in that moment. They might just start speaking. And I don't demand that they type anything, but it's there.
And how easy is it? If we think of our most vulnerable learners, students with special needs, how easy is it for them to kind of log in and get engaged, Michael?
There's a number of sort of ways to access there. I mean, we saw with Anja, it's as simple as going to the app and putting in the PIN code.
Right.
You can have your students obviously download the app on their own device. And then the other option is if you're working with different groups, you can set up your own classes. So I would be working 2 or 3 groups at a time, and I would have assigned certain lessons to certain classes. So if I tell them to take out their phone or their tablet and log on to LessonUp, as soon as I put the lesson to that class, I think it automatically sort of comes up for them. So
and for people watching, you're in Belfast, Anja's in the Netherlands. What Anja's just showed us, is that something that you can do in your classroom? Are there very similar kind of methods and tools?
Yeah, absolutely. There was the thing, actually, there were some of the examples when we met yesterday that Anja was showing us that really made me think. And the photograph, the history photograph there, was the limitations, actually, I think.
For people to see just the history one. Yeah. So, Michael, I guess the question is, are the resources ubiquitous? Could they be used in lots of different contexts across the world, and as a teacher teaching different age groups?
Yeah, absolutely. I think actually one of the biggest limitations on LessonUp is your own imagination.
Right.
If you can, imagine something and you're creative, you can, come up with a lot of different sort of varieties of tasks for students.
And let me ask you both a question. How much does LessonUp reduce your workload? Give us some kind of real kind of sense of, you're reducing hours and lesson plans. Maybe you're not planning too much content on a Sunday night. It's just, I don't want to put words into your mouth. Anja, how has it made your life easier?
Because one of the reasons is it's an all-in-one tool. That's for me is great. And it's like what Michael also said in the beginning, it's very easy to use. You don't have to be a computer whiz, like I'm definitely not. And you can create really nice content. And you can also, of course, search from other teachers what they have done, what they've made. But to be honest, I have to tell you that what I'm teaching, like religion, ethics and stuff, there's not that much to choose from. So, and I like to create my own thing. So that's also...
And it's pretty easy to do.
Oh, very easy. Oh, yeah.
And Michael, what about you in terms of, new teacher? We all know when you're a new teacher, the workload's incredibly high, but how has LessonUp made that a little bit easier for you?
I would say there's been moments where I have created PowerPoint lessons maybe 2 years ago, and when I get to the day of using them again, I kind of think this isn't really up to the standard that I am now, having gone through this journey. And within sort of 5 or 10 minutes, I can drop that into LessonUp, make it interactive, take the YouTube videos that would have been embedded in them, insert, quizzes and questions and mind maps throughout that. And there have been days where I have maybe like 20 minutes before a class starts looked at a PowerPoint that I was going to deliver and said, I've got 20 minutes, I can do this, and have been able to create an interactive class for students.
What kind of difference have you seen in your children in terms of, behavior, focus, Michael?
Well, as Anja was kind of shown with the spinner, having the ability to kind of make sure that everyone is engaged, that they know that they could be called on any moment, is really powerful, that there isn't an opportunity to kind of like just let the lesson pass them by because they could be called on. I don't have the power to skip the spinner.
Sure.
That's just one example.
I'm going to bring Alice back in a second and ask her just for some insights, because, part of the team, she'll see how teachers are using LessonUp all across the world. I guess my last question, Anja, is there something in LessonUp that's not yet there that you'd like to see? So you mentioned there's not a lot of ethics type material.
Yeah.
Is that something you would like or something else?
Yeah, ethics, philosophy, religion, but then, really good quality. That's what I really would like to see, much more of those kind of lessons.
Okay,
to involve the students.
Michael, how about you? What's not there that you'd like more of?
I think I'm pretty early on the journey with LessonUp, so I know there's a lot more back there to scrape. And actually just seeing some of the stuff, like the stuff that Anja showed us today is fairly, it's nice and easy to access. Some of the stuff she was showing me yesterday, I was kind of thinking, like, that's just pure imagination and pure, she's invented that herself. And it kind of just shows you the possibilities of what you can do if you kind of are creative.
Yeah. So there you go. So just for everyone's benefit, let me just put this back up on the screen. So we've done a little demo. We've heard from Michael and Anja. I'm just going to pick Alice's brains a little bit more. Alice, the insights that you see, the data on your side, kind of what are the patterns, from COVID, the number of lessons being produced, one or two things that Michael and Anja would like to see in the future? I know there's lots of questions there, but just give us a general picture of what you see from your side.
Yeah, great question, Ross. No, I think so. Basically, from on our side, just with the teachers we've been chatting with working with Anja and Michael, we've really just seen how teachers are kind of getting more empowered again, in the sense of the way that they can kind of take control of the content that they had before, and then make it more interactive, or, like you said, Michael, be a bit more creative in the sense of how you actually show the material to your students. And then in that way also just be able to understand exactly how your students are doing with the material as well, getting that instant feedback through the lesson. And then looking back at the reports, and then again reviewing how your students are doing, just really helped, for a lot of teachers so much. And then some things that we also really noticed too is kind of the ability, and I think, Michael, you touched upon this a little bit, is the ability to give a little bit of differentiation as well to your students. It was really interesting. I shadowed a classroom, I think a couple of weeks ago, and it was a teacher teaching Spanish, and she mentioned to me directly that she had lessons ready for those who were, beginner level Spanish speakers. So they were doing their own lessons on the app and just going through the material on their own time. And if they had questions, they would ask her. And then while they're doing this lesson, she's teaching live and using LessonUp, a different lesson for the more advanced level speakers. So she could then basically work with them, get them going, make sure that they're understanding the more advanced level of Spanish, but then still be able to help these kids who are not at the same level. So when I was part of this classroom, I was just, flabbergasted at how smooth it seemed to have gone for her in that sense, in providing that kind of differentiated level to her students. So it was really, really, really interesting.
Alice, I've got a question, one more question, and we'll maybe start to look at all the responses online. We'll try and address one or two, but give us a sense of direction in terms of the next 3 months where LessonUp is moving towards, so that people can, expect, new software updates, new features. What's happening next?
Yeah, I think our main goal is to make the experience, the user experience of Anja and Michael and anybody else who are using LessonUp as seamless and easy as possible, and then being able to use content from other teachers, being able to embed interactivity as quick as possible, and then getting those responses. I think for the next 3 months, that's been our goal. And then, there's always the moment where your laptop crashes, or for some reason your digiboard doesn't want to work with you that day. We also want to be able to make sure that it's easy to access LessonUp offline, and then just make it just all around more accessible for teachers and students.
On that note, I've got a question here from Kevin again on YouTube. The live teaching and kind of offline model, there are offline features, aren't there?
Yeah. And again, you can send these lessons just to your students via email, and then they can just do it offline as homework or independently on their own. And then also, if you are offline and working on a lesson, it keeps all your changes, shall I say, and then once you get back online, it automatically saves again, so you don't lose anything. It's not like a Google Docs where it says you're offline, good luck. You can actually create, still edit, still do the things that you want to do, and then it'll save once you get back online. So there are ways to kind of keep your lessons going in that sense.
Sure. Okay, I've got another question here for you, Alice, from Christopher. Is there a limit to how many students can access the slides at once?
No, so you can have, I don't know, we could literally have the 190 people who joined or signed up for this webinar. They could all willingly and lovingly participate in lessons, and via that PIN code.
Could I put it in an assembly with the whole school? So let's say I squeeze 1,000 students in the hall, all with a device which could be chaotic, but that's not going to crash on me.
No, well, there's literally no limit. I'll be honest, I don't think we've ever had anybody do 1,000 students. I would be very curious, and if somebody does that within this webinar, please ping me. I would love to know.
Okay, I'm just going to bring Anja and Michael back in. Has it ever broken or let you down in any shape or form?
No. When I was teaching in the first lockdown, I had more than 100 students at once in one of my classes, and it worked completely fine.
Michael?
Yeah, I've not had any issues.
Not broke it yet. Okay, well that's a great review. Alice, I've got another question from Jay Kelly on YouTube. I won't put it on the screen, but they ask what differentiates LessonUp with, and I won't mention someone else's name, but with similar products. I guess what's your unique selling point?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think the unique selling point is it's really up to you on the way you want to use LessonUp. If you want to be creative, you can. If you want to use other lessons, you can. It's really putting you back into the driver's seats and then getting those instant feedback from your students in a lesson and then post lesson. I think we're also very much just what do you call it, agnostic to curriculum. So we don't follow any kind of curriculum. So again, it's up to you on the way you want to create your content, structure your content, and then teach it to your kids. So it's very much all everything's in your hands in that sense. So
okay, and I've got one. I guess it's a very important question. Think of student data. There it is on the screen there. The GDPR policy and the EU regulations, or people using it in other parts of the world. How does all that data collection and management information stuff work, Alice?
Yeah, we are fully GDPR compliant. That's the first thing we did as a platform to make sure that we weren't collecting any unnecessary data and that we were compliant to the GDPR regulations. I know in the States, it's a bit more of the wild, wild west with the data. So we really wanted to make sure we were strict with the data, and we only collect teacher data. Student data is very much not collected in our platform, so we're very hesitant on using student data in that sense.
Okay, thank you, Alice. So just for people watching live, your last chance here to pose a question, and then I can display it and pose the question on your behalf. But thank you for joining us. I guess I'm just going to start kind of formalities here and start to say thank you to Anja for your brilliant demo and clarifications on the resource and showing how easy it is, despite my naivety, to get started. Michael, you're past that beginner's itch and you're now using it, and it's been really good to hear from you both. I guess, Anja, any kind of concluding remarks?
Now, I would say to all the viewers, start with LessonUp, and you'll see how your students will be much more involved in your class and you will benefit from it as a teacher. Yeah.
Great. And to Michael?
Yeah, actually, whenever Alice was given the sort of the unique selling point, I was kind of thinking, for me, it's how natural LessonUp feels and the ease of access. It just feels like this is the way it should be done.
Yeah, actually, Ross, I wanted to add to that too, just kind of the user-friendliness, but also I think what's great is that you also can learn new techniques. So, for example, Michael, I think, just learned a new technique from Anja on how to engage. So I think that's something that we really want to make sure that teachers are able to get those resources and get those kind of new inspirations within the classroom and learn from us as well, and from certified educators like Anja herself. So yeah, I think we're really a hands-on platform.
There's not much to like at all. Free, easy to use, really useful in an online and offline context. That blended learning approach also. So I guess give it a go. Last call for comments, people. Let's see, I've got one here from Emma. Can you use it as an individual teacher? Does your whole school have to take it on? That's a really good question. Thank you, Emma.
Yeah, you can sign up as an individual. You can work in teams, or you can get your whole school involved if you'd like. It's really up to you, but you can for sure start creating your own account as an individual for free and kind of mess around as much as you like within LessonUp.
And I guess I've got that awkward question, Alice. If there's a cost at all, or the free trial or subscription, what does that look like in terms of financials, trials? We need to ask those questions just in case.
Yeah, definitely. No, so when you do sign up, you do get a 30-day free trial of our pro license, which means you can also have access to sharing homework, tests. You can then get the reports as well. And then Michael mentioned how he has created classes within the LessonUp platform to kind of just make sure that his lessons get sent to his specific classes. You can also do that. A pro license, depending where you are, but I'll just say within the UK, it's £59 per year. There is a monthly subscription as well. So if you don't want to pay all up front, you don't have to. There's options for a monthly subscription. And yeah, it's if you don't want to do that, it's free as well.
The monthly subscription on top of the £59.
No. You can either pay 59.
All right, you pay monthly or you pay 59. So we're looking at about £5 a month.
Yeah.
And if I teach, I'm just doing some quick maths here. If I teach 25 lessons a week, that's about 20 pence a lesson, I believe.
Yeah, and you get unlimited lessons. There's no storage, or how some platforms kind of limit you on that. There's none of that. You get unlimited lessons, unlimited interactivity in that sense.
And
So
I guess one last question is, if I was a school leader and I wanted a license for my whole school, and let's say I had 73 teachers in the school, what are the costs there?
So we start at 10 teachers. And basically, again, it's up to the school on how they would like to onboard their teachers. But basically, we start at £75 per teacher. And what we make sure is that we start with smaller groups, first get them onboarded, make sure they're really engaged with the platform. And I think Michael can speak for this because we did that for Belfast Met. And then if the school would like to, they can actually onboard more teachers one by one. It's not tiered, or it doesn't depend how
Michael,
many.
Your college, everyone has an access. Your college is taking it on.
I'm not too sure about how many people have access. I think, as far as I'm aware, they must have looked at the people that were using the previous platform that we were using, and then picked out the people that had been using it most, give them licenses. And
okay. So I guess to answer kind of some questions for people that might be watching this, to think, well, I don't want to pay it for myself. Could I go and bend my arm and bend my school leader's arm, and they could probably pay for one license at least? That would be a good starting point. Play around with it, trial it, show it off, share it with other colleagues. And I guess, as you said, Alice, you could maybe get 5 or 10 licenses to begin with.
Yeah, and what we make sure, again, is we offer for school licenses a 2-month trial. So again, we make sure you feel comfortable with the platform before you commit for a whole year. And then in that sake, you can either commit then for the year and then add licenses one by one if you'd like.
Okay, so I guess, coming to the end of, the start of the exam season, once that exam season, starts to slow down, that's probably a good opportunity to start that 2-month trial and have a good play with it over the summer period for September. I'm going to just say to people watching, this is your last chance to pose a question. I can see a flurry of things coming through. So if there's anything relevant, I'll pose it on your behalf or display it on the screen. Okay, I said this before, but this is any last comments, Michael, Anja?
I think everything is already said. Like you said, your last words were play with it. And that's what you need to do. That's how you figure it out. Yeah.
Okay, great. And I've got this nice comment here from Jay Kelly. LessonUp offers more freedom, in my opinion. So I think that's a good place to finish. So everyone watching, if I just say thank you to Anja for your brilliant demonstration and your wisdom, and Michael for sharing your context in Belfast, and for, I guess, giving us that new user or new teacher approach. It's been really interesting. And it's been lovely to get to know you both and hear your stories. And I guess from me as a former teacher, thank you for all the amazing work that you do with all your students in your communities to make the world a better place. And I know teaching's not easy, so thank you very much for all your efforts. And to Alice, thank you for sharing the resource with everyone, and thank you for all the stuff that LessonUp does. Over 1 million resources is incredible, and you're a relatively new platform, aren't you? To be fair, and 100,000 users, so that's incredible, really. So if I just bring things to a close, everybody watching, there's the QR codes from me, so you can read the QR code on the left, scan that. and see what I have to say about the product. You know, everything there's loads of links and loads of resources in there. That middle QR code, you can register, sign up, have a play around, and decide what you want to do next. And then you've got a little introduction. There's loads more stuff on the site, as you can see.
Ross, like I said, we'll also be sending a follow-up email with some free resources you can use as well within the platform. And then actually, we do have a job opening for a UK specialist. So we'll also be sharing that information as well. So if anybody's interested or know of anybody interested.
Right, there you go, a job offer there. No, we didn't expect that one. Okay, so I'm going to share all the links for people watching, all on the YouTube recording only, not on Facebook or Twitter. And for people watching through the Eventbrite ticket system, I'll circulate the slides. And I'll leave a link on YouTube if Fathom out how to do that too. That's it. So thank you, Alice. Thank you, Anja. Thank you, Michael, for your wisdom. I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you for joining me again. I love sharing great resources and great ideas to make the classroom an easier place for us as teachers, and ultimately to try and make a difference to engage our kids. And to make that classroom a more fulfilling place for them to help them learn. So that's it from me. I'm going to press end broadcast. I'll see you again in the future. Bye for now, and keep safe. Thanks for watching.